Well, I don't feel like I'm being impeached because it's a hoax.
Frankly, I don't care what the Republicans say.
Welcome back to Upfront. We're talking today about the historic vote to impeach President Trump. And we just heard from Democratic Congresswoman Gwen Moore. Now we want to get the Republican view from Congressman Mike Gallagher. He's at our Green Bay affiliate, WBAY-TV. So, Congressman, thank you for your time. We want to get right to this. Let's talk about what happens next. We just talked to Congresswoman Moore. She thinks there will be a Senate trial, even though right now Speaker Pelosi is withholding the articles of impeachment. What would the strategy be when it comes to Republicans in that trial?
Well, I think by withholding the articles of impeachment, not transmitting them to the Senate, and shutting down Congress and having everyone leave town before they even name managers for the Senate impeachment trial, Pelosi is undermining the entire case for impeachment. In other words, they made the argument that we had to move now. We had to impeach Donald Trump now, and we could not wait for the courts to adjudicate whether certain witnesses with actual firsthand knowledge would have to testify before the House, because if we waited any longer, it'd be too late. We have an election coming up. Well, this totally undermines that argument. We are now delaying a Senate trial for purely political purposes. So I think this further trivializes impeachment more than we already have. And I worry we're opening up a Pandora's box of perpetual impeachment, and that's bad for the country, particularly with an election less than a year away.
I know that you've been saying this a lot on your social media, that you're worried that this just sparks continuous impeachment from now on. Is that something that you would do then as a Republican if there's a Democrat in office as president? No,
I try and hold myself to a higher standard. I think what trivializes this impeachment, or at least lowers the bar relative to the historical record of impeachment, is that this is the first impeachment in American history in over 200 years that did not involve the accusation of an actual crime. So we've lowered the standard in that respect. This is also the first impeachment that has been purely partisan. And Nancy Pelosi herself said, unless there is overwhelming, compelling evidence and that it's bipartisan, you should not move forward with something as divisive and dangerous as impeachment. Unfortunately, she ignored her own advice. We are now moving forward. We risk further dividing the country. And again, I think the common sense position for Wisconsinites who maybe aren't following this closely or have tuned it out or turned off their TVs is, we're having an election in less than a year. Why not just adjudicate our differences through the ballot box? That would seem to be the easiest way to resolve these differences.
Well, and the Speaker says she wants to make sure that it's a fair trial, but I'm curious, how do you think this is fair when Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has said he can't be an impartial juror?
That is, I think, an absurd argument. We have Democrats and Republicans in the Senate. We have one or two independents, depending if you count Bernie Sanders. No one is without bias. This isn't a random sample of impartial jurors in the way you would seek in a jury trial. They're committed partisans. They have run for office for that express purpose. So the idea that Mitch McConnell would have to recuse himself because he's an ally of the president and a Republican and therefore likely not to vote to convict the president, I think is absurd, and it just further exposes Pelosi as using this for political purposes. I think she got dragged into impeachment because all the energy in the Democratic base right now is with the resistance and the far left. And I just think sending the articles of impeachment is a cynical game. By the way, there's an argument from left-leaning constitutional scholars that Trump hasn't actually been impeached until the articles are transmitted and presented to the Senate.
And so I do want to ask you, after all this is said and done, do you think these divisions between Republicans and Democrats can be or will be healed?
Well, there's some cause for hope. We were able to pass the USMCA after Pelosi delayed it for a long period of time. That's a positive development. I'm on the Armed Services Committee. We passed a very good National Defense Authorization Act, as we have for the last 3 years that I've been in Congress. And there's a new generation emerging of young Democrats and Republicans, a lot of whom have served in uniform, my fellow veterans. And we are all united in the idea that Washington, D.C. is broken. The swamp needs to be drained. We may have different ideas for how to do that. But the more we get of new people from outside politics to run for office, the better chance we have, I think, of healing the country.
And if this does go to trial, I think the common understanding right now is that the president wouldn't be removed because there would need to be 20 Republican senators who would want that, which seems unlikely. Is there any doubt in your mind, though, that a few Republicans might kind of go the other way?
I don't think so. I don't think it's likely they go the other way unless there was a massive new shoe to drop. The second article of impeachment, obstruction of Congress, is not a thing. It's undermined by the fact that they proceeded, as I mentioned earlier, with impeachment prior to allowing the courts to say whether firsthand witnesses, Pompeo, Bolton, Mulvaney, would have to testify. The first one is murky. It's impossible to disaggregate the accusation of abuse of power, which again isn't a crime, from the legal requirements Congress has put on the president to investigate corruption in Ukraine. And so I don't think they've made their case effectively enough, and I don't think any Republicans in the Senate will break.
And final question, at this point, what do you think is the best case scenario for your party?
Best case scenario is we just stay focused on getting stuff done. The trade deal was a huge win. It's great for Wisconsin dairy farmers. That's positive. The economy continues to do well, but there's more we need to do, right? I think we need to look at the biggest problems this country is facing, particularly rising healthcare costs, prescription drug costs, and make an argument for how we're going to fix it. I don't think we should just spend the next year engaging in pure tribal, partisan blood sport. I think we should offer real solutions, talk about past accomplishments, rebuild the military, continue to stand strong in the face of our adversaries, but it's all about fixing problems, getting things done, and offering a hopeful vision for the American people.
Congressman, thank you.
Thank you.
Our editorial partner, WisPolitics.com, keeps you up to date on Wisconsin's congressional delegation and the big news in Washington. You'll find that on the DC blog at WisPolitics.com. Coming up, the Milwaukee County Board Chairman who hopes to lead the county as county executive.